Oh, why hello there. I see you found me while I'm enjoying a lovely cup of tea. I had an idea for a video, but I'm not really sure where to go with this because it's only just like a short thing, but I feel like people need to hear about it or it needs to be discussed because, as you know, I feel most things in the witchy community, especially like online, don't get talked about enough. Like the not so aesthetic-y things don't get talked about enough. So I was just uploading something to my Instagram and then I started thinking about mentors and teachers. I think it's incredibly fundamental to anyone's practice for them to have a mentor, a teacher, a guide, anything. But the issue is, I say this, and I've been practicing for near enough 10 years now, and I've never actually had a mentor, a guide, or a teacher. This is not out of choice. I am quite a socially awkward person. You can probably tell through the videos, even though I edited to make it seem like I'm not. Just because I'm a socially awkward person, that doesn't mean that I haven't actively wanted to have a teacher or a mentor. It's just the opportunity has never really presented itself. I've met other people who take part in spiritual things, who take part in witchy things, who do magical and mystic things. You know, the works. I've met all these people. I've met people who work with energy, I've met pagans, I've met druids, I've met it all, or met them all. But for some reason, a true teacher has never presented themselves to me. I don't know why, I don't know why it's so hard for me personally to find one, but that's the reality of the situation. And I think it's important that people know that although it's beneficial to have a mentor or a teacher or a guide, that doesn't mean you're always going to find one. This doesn't make you any less of a witch though, or a magical practitioner. It just means your path might be a little bit harder. You know, way back in the day when people were on these paths, they would learn from somebody, and that information and everything to go with it would come from them, and it would be passed down through each generation. In the 21st century, it's not that simple, especially in this day and age with social media. Oh my god, that's a good cup of tea. Even in like the witchy and spiritual community, people aren't meeting up as frequently. They aren't like getting together. Like, they are. It's just, it's a little bit harder because people are more spread out. You could have people who are in covens where one of you's like in the most northern point of Scotland and another one of you is like down in Cornwall, and meeting up all the time isn't really going to be feasible. It is possible to meet people who are aligned and on the same path as you. It's just not as easy to do as it would have been like 50, 60 years ago. At least that's my opinion. Maybe I'm just interacting with the wrong people. This is what comes with not having your own mentor though, not having your own teacher. When you don't really have an elder to go to or someone who's been doing it a lot longer than you kind of just have to wing it and make it up as you go. I get all of my information online or in books or from things that I've talked about with other people. I don't get it from anyone who's been spiritually or witchy inclined for like 40 plus years or even 10 plus years. I'm just doing it all myself and going by what I find in my everyday life. And I know that like lots of people also have that problem because I don't know anyone who has a mentor, a teacher, a guide, an elder. Like I know a lot of other people who would maybe class themselves as witches or spiritual practitioners at the very least, and no one that I know, or like at least that they've told me, have a mentor or a guide or an elder. Everyone I know has just built it from the ground up through their own research and intuition. I personally would love to have a mentor or a teacher or an elder. It's been one of the things I think has really like stunted me in on my own path and in my own spiritual growth. I think having a witch as a teacher, or even a druid or a pagan, anything along those lines, someone who's been doing it for like 20 plus years would really help me understand how to more naturally be a witch instead of like going through all tech to find out everything. I'm sure I'll find someone when the time is right. I just wonder why it hasn't happened for almost a decade. But yeah, moving on. The whole point of this video really is to just say, if you haven't found a mentor or a guide or an elder or a teacher or anything yet, and you're getting a bit concerned that you're never going to find one, there is a chance that you won't. I'm starting to think maybe I'm not going to, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the end of your path. You will have to do other things to learn on your path, and you'll have to trust in yourself a lot, but that doesn't mean you should just stop your path. The best thing that I can suggest as a long-term practicing witch if you're struggling and feeling demotivated because you haven't found a mentor or a teacher, the best thing that I can recommend is to just trust your intuition, keep doing the research. Like, it's important to know that if you're going to be teaching yourself, there are times when you're going to be wrong. I hate being wrong. I feel really stupid when I'm wrong, even though it's completely natural and human to be wrong. But it's important that you accept on the path. You're going to learn things. They're not always going to be right. And that's fine. That's totally okay. And that's important for you to know, that it's okay to be wrong. That's part of learning. That's part of the whole process. Another thing I really wanted to mention on this video, which is why I wanted to record this, is if you're desperately searching for a mentor, you are going to come across like deceivers. It sounds really silly when I say that, I know, but like, I don't know what else to call these people. Imposters. It's all just really negative, but you're going to meet people with very dark energy. And when I say, you know, everyone who follows me or knows me knows that I don't think dark equates to evil. Like, I work a lot with dark energy, more than so than light. But when I say dark energy in this instance, I mean people who have gotten so mushed in with their dark energy, they've left no room for light at all, and they're just feeding on the dark energy, and they're not utilizing it or transmuting it into anything that's beneficial for them or the people around them. Destructive darkness, basically. And you will meet these people who will claim to be a teacher, who will claim to be a mentor, who will claim that they have been sent from, or sent by interdimensional beings to come and help you. Some of these people could be actually mentors. They could be. But a lot of the time, if you're desperately searching for a mentor or a teacher and you're not protecting yourself while you're doing it, you are going to meet a lot of people who aren't actually going to help you. If anything, they're just going to feed off of your energy, and you're going to be susceptible to all sorts of stupid shit coming from them. So it's really important. Don't be desperate for the mentor. I learned that the hard way, and I have met people a few times who I thought were going to be mentors or teachers for me, but they just turned out to be what I'm now calling deceivers. They were too caught up in their own destructive darkness to be of any help to me. If anything, they were bringing me into that destructive darkness, and that was stunting my own growth. Lots of the time, people who are trapped in destructive darkness and destructive dark energy aren't doing shadow work, and they're not getting to know themselves like deep down to the core. They're happy to just like completely ignore their problems and just carry on however they want. Just watch out for these deceivers, the destructive darkness people. That's a term that I've now coined, and I'm going to use that. It's always just important to be patient. If a mentor, a teacher, or a guide is meant for you, they will find their way to you eventually. Maybe it's just that we're not ready right now, even if it has been almost 10 years. But maybe I'm not ready. Like, maybe you're not ready. Maybe there's still a lot of solitary movement we've got to go through. Maybe we need to learn more from our friends before we're ready to take on a serious teacher. Maybe the timing's just wrong, and maybe that's why we haven't found our teachers yet. Like, who knows? There's a reason for everything at the end of the day, no matter how minuscule or small that reason is. And, you know, it's cliche, but the universe works in really mysterious ways. So while you are waiting for your mentor or your teacher or your elder, it's just important that you carry on going, you carry on teaching yourself, you carry on learning, unlearning, deconstructing what you've unlearned to relearn it again. Keeps going in that positive spiral of just learning and living life and going through the motions. Eventually, your real teacher will find their way to you. Just please, please, please protect yourselves from energy vampires, from these deceivers, anyone who's stuck in their own destructive darkness, who's just desperate to feed off of you. If you're in a vulnerable spot right now, but you're susceptible to like magic, mysticism, and energy, I would also give the advice, just based off of my own personal experience, to not go looking for a teacher right now. Wait until you're a bit more like in tune with your mind, body, and soul. Make sure they're more aligned and you're more protected and you've got better foundations before you go and look for those teachers, because while you're still in this sort of, it's technically destructive darkness. I mean, it is destructive darkness. But if you're in a vulnerable position and you don't know how to work through it, yeah, it is destructive darkness. I've been there though, so there's no judgment. But while you're vulnerable like that and you're not thinking straight, so to speak, it's not in your best interest to look for a teacher, a mentor, or an elder, because you will just be met by the deceivers. And deceivers will come in saying that they got, like, you know, X amount years of experience. They will tell you that they were sent to you from higher realms. They will say that you are twin flames. They will say that you are soulmates. When really it's just they're feeding off of your, I don't want to say weakness. They're feeding off of your vulnerability. Not weakness, your vulnerability, because you're in a state where your energy is fragile and it still needs to learn how to be protected. You're still learning how to protect it at that point. And even if you're experienced in teaching yourself how to protect yourself, there will always come times when you're vulnerable again. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you are on the path, that's always going to happen. There's always going to be times when our energy is vulnerable, and what's most important during those times is to learn how to protect it and strengthen it again, and keep out deceivers and energy vampires. So if you're going through a vulnerable stage and you don't feel mentally like 100% there, I just really urge you to not go out seeking your teacher or your mentor. Do not try and manifest it right now. Wait until you're in a stronger place mentally. Otherwise, you're just going to be met by deceivers who will make it worse. I say all this based on personal experience, because I've met people when I've been in a vulnerable spot who I thought had the answers and were going to teach me things on my magical path and on my, like, interactions with energy. I was really excited, but being around them for long periods of time, or even just like talking to them online, left me feeling so awful and so drained, and then I felt like I was back at square one. Even when you're in a vulnerable spot though, you can usually tell what these deceivers are like, so you can usually just pick them out. Something just feels wrong about them, so just trust your intuition. If you get a bad vibe about someone who you think is meant to be your teacher, but there's just a really horrible vibe, do not work with them. Don't work with them. They're not meant for you. They're not meant to teach you. There's a reason you're getting that bad feeling. So I was just really thinking about mentors, teachers, and elders, and how I haven't really come across many myself, and how if I'm feeling like this, there's probably other people who have been practicing for the same amount of time as me or longer, and you still haven't found your mentors or elders yet. And it sucks, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe that there is a reason, and that's why we haven't found them yet. So I'm just making this video to say, don't lose hope. Get yourself into a position where you're ready for a teacher. Maybe you think you're ready, and you might almost be there, but maybe there's still some vulnerability that you have to work on to protect. Maybe you need to protect that vulnerability before you're ready for the real elder or the real mentor to come in, instead of just more karmatic, destructive deceivers. Be patient, trust the process, and eventually you will find what you need. The universe will present what you need at the right time. Sometimes it takes a few years to be able to notice the signs, but that's all part of the process of existence. It's all part of this simulation, or this reality, or, you know, whatever this is that we're doing, this life. As always, guys, blessed be. This was a bit of a disjointed, unorganized video, and more just like my own personal thoughts, but I hope it's like encouraged or helped anyone who's feeling a little bit down in the dumps because they also haven't found a teacher or a mentor. Don't lose hope. It'll happen when it's meant to happen. I'll see you in the next video, I guess. But yeah, have a lovely day. Bye.